Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pembroke Towncast with me, Lee G, and a very warm welcome it is. It's been fantastic weather the last couple of weeks, and I've really enjoyed being out and about and around town. Apologies for missing last week's podcast. It was one of those things where all sorts of things happened, and before I knew it, it was Thursday, and I was like, "Well, what's the point?" So, yeah, it's there's been a load of stuff happening over the last couple of weeks. So let's kick off with the news desk. To the big news in town, obviously, is that the swans have started to hatch. The little baby cygnets have started to hatch. So on Castle Pond, Delith and Dylan have six little ones. I've not given them six names because I could never work out. So I struggled to do two. And then it just sets a precedent then. So if I do with Dylan and Delith, they've always had big broods. So they have six or seven, and then the others tend to have two or three. One of them tends to have four. So yeah, it would just be a nightmare trying to find names. But six little cygnets swimming around the castle pond. That's just a tongue twister for you. Six cygnets swimming around the castle pond. And what I've noticed is they tend to kind of come over to so if you're walking around the castle pond, the bit on the far side from the castle, they do tend to like kind of munching around there, whatever it is that cygnets like. Obviously mum and dad feel that that's a good place to go. So it's good to see they're about a week old and they're out and about. And it's just lovely to see kids looking at them, understanding what's happening, understanding that these are baby swans, what they're going to grow into, and asking all sorts of questions. I see people looking at them every day, and I've got loads of videos that I will be putting together in the near future. So on Mill Pond, the others should be really any day now. I keep thinking that Arianwyn and Arwin have hatched because he's got very possessive around his area. He's cleared he's cleared the swans further out from his area, and her behavior on the nest has changed a little, but we haven't seen any. I haven't seen any sight of them. But I am expecting them any day now. And as soon as they arrive, you can bet that there will be another swan watch. There is a standard swan watch to go out this week, has got a little bit of footage of Dylan and Delith and the small ones. And then I will, as soon as Arwen and Ariane wins brood pop up, we'll be having another one with them as well. So other than that, now I don't know if you saw this through your letterbox. I'm going to try and share that there, so you might be able to see. So for those listening on audio, there was a thing popped through the door the other day. I think it was last week on the Castle Martin range update, which basically just gives us a list of dates when there's going to be additional firing. So this is additional firing on top of the normal stuff. I don't know when the normal stuff is, but every now and again, everything just starts rattling, and you go, okay, they're firing. So there's going to be three large-scale exercises this year. First one is between 9th and 27th of June. Second one, 13th of October to the 7th of November. And then the third one's 17th of November to the 5th of December. So there's a little bit of information there. So what I'll do is I'll take a wee little photo of this and I will put it on our socials. But I believe that everyone in Pembroke has had one now. So yeah, that might be something that we might talk about, because when we talk about the large scale training events, what do they call it? Training exercise? There we go. Yeah, so a large scale training exercise. You know, it tends to be a little bit of the unexpected. There'll be additional helicopters, there'll be additional traffic, there'll be additional tanks trunking through the town, things like that. So it's always worth just kind of knowing what's going on with that. So, other than that, very little in the way of news. Again, good thing, celebrate the fact that nothing's going wrong. Bad news always seems to get inflated. Good news, not very well inflated, and what have you. So, what I'm going to say is, I would really like this to be a good news thing, if you like. If you've ever tried getting good news onto social media, you'll know how difficult it is. But if you've got any good news stories about anybody in the town who has achieved something or is doing something special or something new is coming, then yeah, let me know, because I'm more than happily talk about that. Now, so speaking of new things, there's a new sandwich. I wanted to say sandwich bar opening at the far end of town, over at the East End, in between the Chippy and the Heat Lounge. So yeah, looks like a sandwichy bar, that kind of thing, takeaway, which is just perfect, and will be open 7 days a week, I think. So yeah, it does mean that we have, a couple are to select from in the area, which will be great. So you've got Robinson's, you've got the Co-op, and now you've got the sandwich bar. So I shall be popping in and having a bit of a taste test as soon as it's open. It's there's a lot of work been going on over the weekend, and it looks like it's ready to go. And there's also looks like something going in far at the other end of town from that, in the old takeaway next to what's now out. So yeah, again, it looks kind of like a takeaway-ish kind of a thing. So plenty more of that coming. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, let's take a look at events. So before we have a little look at the events that are already published and what have you, I'm going to put a bit of a call out. So I've had a couple of requests in over the last few weeks. Can you find me some baby groups? Is the first one. Are there any decent pub quizzes around? And what car boot sales are on now? So we know Sunday morning Carew car boot sale is massive, but if you can't make it to that one, are there any others in and around Pembroke Dock that somebody can get to? Pub quiz. So the pub quiz that I do know of is it's the big one. It's the national one, which is at Cerrig Glass, and that is that's a Thursday night thing. So I'm just going to have a look at the details. But I think it's just for May. So I think it's just for this last one. Starts on the 1st of May. Find the smartest pub. 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd. So that would be what day is it today? Yes, that'd be the Thursday. Starts at 8. Cash prizes, all of that kind of stuff. I wish I'd have known about that one sooner, because I would have gone on that. That's a good one to go to. But so any pub quizzes, let me know. Any baby groups, particularly Welsh-speaking baby groups, please let me know. And yeah, car boot sales, that will be tickety boo. Thank you very much on that. So let's have a little look at what events we have got going. So last few Wednesdays, and I don't know if this is every Wednesday, I don't know if it's an every Wednesday thing, but there's been like a bike night at the Cresselly Arms, which is great for the guys on the bikes. Go knock yourself out, literally. Go knock yourselves out. The only thing I'd say on that, having driven that road quite a bit on a Wednesday night, I mean, somebody needs to kind of just put it's not a racetrack. So yeah, by all means, if you're a biker, then that's a place to go on a Wednesday. I've seen it like a couple of Wednesdays on the trot. I've not seen anything to say if it's on every Wednesday. And I know the Cressetti Key were having bands and what have you. So I'm assuming it's a thing they want to do. It's a thing they want to do regularly at the very least. But yeah, please don't be a dick on the way. There's nice. So other things that we've got going on this weekend on the 24th between 2 and 5 at the Foundry, we have a menopause support afternoon. So it's £20 a person, which includes a lunch and a sauna and an ice plunge. So I think there are still a few tickets left, and I think you book them either through the Foundry or through the Heat Lounge. So if you're a woman of a certain age, that's a really good event to go to. Even if it's just to make friends, it's a really good thing. And I know that Yaz from the Heat Lounge, who we've mentioned before on the pod, is putting that on and hopes to do more of those. So yeah, that's well worth a visit if that's your thing. If barn dancing is more of your thing, yeah. So if that's your thing, Cedar Barn has got the barn dance on the 7th of June, which is a little bit away, but I know you're going to need to get tickets for this. So tickets are £13 a head, and you can get them from the Cedar Barn website. Okay, so if you don't know where Cedar Barn is, it's out in St. Peter's. I think it's classed as St. Petrox. It's out that way, but you kind of go if you head out towards Broadhaven and you go past St. Petrox Church, you go round left and right, left and right, and then you get to the turn where you swing round to the left, and then you go down the hill to the back end of Stackpole. Yeah, so that's I think Stackpole. Yeah. Oh. Then there's like a really awkward turn to the right, so you'd have to kind of half go around the corner and then turn right. But it takes you straight on, and it's out there. You can also get to it by going out the other way, so on the road to Angle, and then on the old turn off through crikey, if you turn off through Maiden Wells, yes. So get to the Maiden Wells roundabout and go down like the old road, what would have been the old road, and the turning right we used to swing round to go back out to Texaco isn't there now. So if you carry on straight out of that road, that kind of takes you close by, and then it's round to the left when you get to, I think it's the only way you can go, but it's right. That's where it is. That's where Cedar Barn is. Really, really nice place. Really good. It's a venue, is what it is. It's a venue to. It's a converted barn that you can use as a venue for weddings, parties, those kinds of things. So well worth going and having a look for the barn dance. But if you're thinking of where's a good venue in the future, got that one. There's also one out just the other side of Carew as well, called Cardiff. That's a really good venue as well on that. So those two are there for you. So on Monday the 26th, which is a bank holiday, that's next week, bank holiday Monday. May seems to have way too many bank holidays for me. I could do with another one kind of, I don't know, September, October. I could do one at the end of October to break it up. Too many in May, not enough in October. So next bank holiday in the old Point House in Angle. There's a Paul Sartori fundraising lunch on there. I did write down the time. It's the afternoon. Pie and pint for 15 quid, and you can book on the oldpointhouse.wales website. But that's a really, really good, thing to be supporting and a good thing to be going and doing. And pie and a pint, there we go. Then finally, I've also got the Big Retreat Festival. Now, normally we see quite a lot locally about Big Retreat. Not seen so much this year, but that is on this weekend, 23rd to the 25th. So if you go in, then do please Send us some photos, send us some videos, let us know what it's like. It would be good to just get a flavour of what's going on there. So that's all of the events done for this week. So, like I say, car boot sales, baby groups, pub quizzes. If you've got any of those, let me know because I want to promote them next week. Okay, let's move on swiftly to the chatty bit. So this week's chatty bit, this has been something that kind of been bugging me for a while. And it's something that we used to have, and then it went away. We used to work really, really well, and then I don't understand why we got rid of it. So that's my kind of setup. And as always, I have a solution. So stick with me to the end of it. I've got a solution. Before I get into it, next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little jobs list because it's a bank holiday next week. So there's always a jobs list to be done. So I'm going to put together a jobs list of stuff around the town, small jobs, little jobs that just need doing. Yeah. Um, and then I want to put a team together to kind of like, can we sort this? Builders, carpenters, volunteers, whoever, yeah. But I want to start solving things for ourselves rather than waiting for other people to come and do it for us. Okay, that's my plan for next week. So in the video underneath, down here somewhere, just pop in little bits around the town where the problem is, what the problem is, what needs to be done in your opinion. And that can be anything from, somebody's wall has fallen down, a building needs a lick of paint. Yes, there are potholes. Something's damaged. It's usually something damaged, or there's an opportunity to improve something. So pop your thoughts and questions underneath the video, ideally on YouTube, if not on Facebook. That'd be great. And then we shall get into that next week and see what we can do with that. Okay. So for those of us of a certain age, we will remember before Valero was Valero and before it was Chevron, it was Texaco. We used to have Texaco, and then we used to have the power station. And every morning and every afternoon, there would be buses going back and forth, carrying hundreds and hundreds of people back and forth to Valero and the power station. And I think it was when it went from Texaco to Chevron, the buses disappeared, and everyone was told, "We've got land, drive your car." Well, yeah, which is obviously they sell petrol, so the more people that drive is better for them. They make more money. Lovely jubbly. But what that now means is that every morning and every afternoon, and it usually coincides with school in the morning, the school run. So that period of kind of 7:30 to 8 up until about kind of 8:30 to 9, that kind of area. And then again 5:30 till kind of 6:30, 7ish, somewhere in that area. Yeah, where town is absolutely gridlocked. So I came the other way. The other day I was coming from to come from Haverfordwest, and I came back to Pembroke on the main road. And its traffic is pretty much jammed from bottom of Ferry Lane. The traffic lights at the bottom of Ferry Lane, even the roundabout of Ferry Lane, to be honest. It's not the traffic lights on Ferry Lane that causes the issue. All the way back up the hill, over the top of the hill, down into Pembroke, around the castle, back across the commons. I had to drop somebody around the far end of the commons. So I did the whole kind of thing. Um, One day it came back into Main Street, it came along the commons. Traffic was jammed along the commons, up Well Hill, and it was starting to go back across Main Street. And I'm just thinking, and I'm looking at the cars, and I'm going, why are there so many single people in these cars, individuals, one person, just the driver, big massive car, one driver. And I thought, do you know what? When we had buses, yeah, we didn't actually have that many issues. the buses would carry 50 odd people at a time, and it would be, set shifts. And my understanding is that it's still roughly, give or take, set shift times. Bump, in they go, out they come, swap them over, away you go. Um, so what that meant is a lot more people lived in and around bus routes in Pembroke. Um, they didn't have to buy two cars; they just had one family car. Um, and traffic moved a lot quicker. It was a lot quicker. There would be four buses instead of 200 cars. That's the reality of it. Four buses end to end, measure that distance, and now measure 200 cars. It's huge. So I'm thinking, why is that not there now? Why is that different? My original understanding, and this comes from someone who used to be a counsellor years and years and years ago, when I spoke to them, God, when I was a little lad, and I was talking about why I was complaining about why I always got stuck behind buses, ironically, and it was kind of written into the original contract that Texaco back then would supply buses for workers to get in and out of work. That was back in the 60s, 70s. So, and I was talking to somebody, what was it, must have been 80s, mid to late 80s, something like that. So, anyway, it was originally written in, but when it was then sold from Texaco to Chevron, then that contract was gone. And it was just like, well, if you're not going to allow Chevron to take it over and do what they want, then we'll just close it. So that was removed. That was no longer a need. They're the same company. Texaco, Chevron, Valero isn't that different. They're all kind of linked in. Texaco, Chevron, same company, just transferred from one arm to the other. All the profits went into the same place. So, that was a mistake as far as I can see. So don't get why. Well, I do get why it's changed and all of that, because it's to make them more profit. Yeah, Valero wants more profit. This is a company that makes, and this is according to their own report, okay, their own annual profit report to the market. March 31st this year, the annual profits last year were 500, no, that's the quarterly profits, 507 million per quarter. The annual profit was $3.3 billion. Yeah, we'll say that again. $3.3 billion you can afford to pay for a bus for your workers out of that money. Yeah. You can take a little bit of a ding and actually go, do you know what? Just by changing a few things at Valero and the power station, power station as well. I haven't looked at RWE's profits, but they're they're not short of a penny or two. So why can they not have a bus? It might be four buses, five buses, six buses every morning, every afternoon. It works for them because they get more people on site at the same time. It's more reliable. And it's a small, reality is this is a very, very small part of their outgoings. Yeah. You could then go and say, right, okay, what can we do? That frees up a whole load of space in the town. You would probably need to this all works on goodwill, and it works on the desire from Valero to actually do something for the town. Okay, they would need to change some of their working practices. So the issue that I know is going to get thrown, well, they got rid of most of their employees, and now they just employ contractors that come and work on a 2-week, 4-week, 6-week contract, whatever. Yeah, 3-month contract. So those people will bring their own vans. They'll drive their vans to and from, and their work tools are on the vans. Okay. Now this is where it just takes a little bit of goodwill from Valero to go, okay, if you're going to be here for a 6 week contract or whatever, and you're going to do Monday to Friday. So you drive in on a Monday, you park your van there, and you take the bus home. And then on a Friday, you take the bus in and you take your van home, and your van is locked in a secure area. Job done. Or alternatively, that you drive in and out on a Monday, but you leave your tools on site. And then after that, you get the bus. Okay. So two different options that both just take a little bit of effort from Valero. Remind you, yeah, 3.3 billion dollars. They can afford to make a few adjustments and a few amendments to accommodate the local area. Okay. So that would just free up so much space in the town. Yeah, it makes walking around the town, it makes shopping in the town, it makes driving around the town easier. It makes it a more pleasant place for tourists to come in. It makes it easier to cross the road for tourists. It baffles me, you know, where we've got one of the main draws to the town is the castle, and people can't get from the castle through to the rest of the town because the traffic, and they just turn around and they go, we'll go back down the hill, we'll walk back to the car, and we'll go back to wherever we were staying. So, this would be good for the town. It would be good for Valero. Okay, it would show that actually Valero is committed to our town. What would be needed? A lot of people, like I said, that used to live in the town, they used to be based in Pembroke, and then they would be based quite close to the bus route. They would be within a walking distance of the bus route. That's changed, and that would need looking at. So, the option there would then be, okay, you have like a park and pick up from Carew, for example. Carew is the obvious one because it's got the aerodrome, but there would be other sites where that works for. So instead of driving through the town and then out through Maiden Wells, Hundleton, wherever, you've got this base where people can go to park your cars there. Thank you very much. Into work. That then frees up, or opens up an opportunity for somebody within that area to you might have 2 or 3 parking sites. They might charge Valero different amounts through the day. There might be coffee shops there. There might be, burger place, whatever. There's different options that you've got. But what it would mean is it would free up the town because it absolutely clogs up and comes to a grinding halt 2 or 3 times a day. And it's not through necessity. It doesn't need to be like that. It doesn't need to be rammed solid. It needs to be a free and open moving place. Yeah. And I don't understand why it's not in more people's heads that this is what we need to do. Yeah. That this is what we need to kind of look at and go, there's a problem there where the town gets jammed solid. What can we do about it? We used to have a solution, but Valero wanted to make a few more bucks of their $3 billion profit. And they thought, do you know what? We'll stop the bus because that'll add a couple of grand a year. I mean, come on. I don't I get why we don't want to take them on. I get why we don't want to make life difficult for Valero. I get why we don't want to go, hey, you guys, yeah, come and have a go. I get that. There's a lot of well-paid jobs in Valero. It brings a lot into the local economy. But let's not forget, head office for Valero is based in London, in the same office, in the same floor and office as all the other American owned oil companies. So when the profits get reported, they get reported at that base. So London is where all the profits, as far as financiers and politicians are, London is where all of the profits for Valero in the UK are realised, and that's where the tax comes from. Whereas the reality is it's actually based in Pembroke, and the when we want something there, we've got to fight to get recognised. So yeah, this is my call to kind of Valero to say, you want to be a part of the community. And I love the work you do with tidying up the flower borders and sticking a lick of paint on the community halls. Great. Fantastic. The odd beach clean every now and again. Love it. Great. Okay. But actually do something that will make living in Pembroke nicer. Do something that will improve the quality of life in Pembroke. Yeah. And that is put those buses back on. And we as residents shouldn't be frightened of asking for that. We shouldn't be frightened of saying, do you know what? You're making $3 billion worldwide, you know, a small fraction of that comes from Pembroke, but you're still, as a company, making $3 billion. But a little bit of that can be spent on making our lives a little bit easier and putting buses on. You know, is that going to be a massive issue for people working in Valero? Not really. Not really. You drive to a place, you get on a bus, you have a chat with your mates for 20 minutes going into work, you come home. Yeah. What it will mean is that like I say, some of the working practices will need to change where, these are the bus times, so you will need to leave by certain bus times. But it will benefit more people than it will negatively affect. And that's kind of my chatty bit for this week. That is out there and doable. That is a real solution to a real problem that we have here. And I'm not going to pretend that it's the whole solution. Of course not. No, there's lots of smaller, finer bits that need to be addressed and ironed out. Where would your park and ride be? What about people coming from Milford? Would there be a different one then? How would that work? Security. There's a whole load of other things that need to be ironed out. But if we don't start asking for it, and we don't start saying to people, like, here's a problem, which the majority of this problem is caused by people from Valero and Power Station, not intentionally. It's a bit like school. It starts at 9, it finishes at 3. So there's a time in the morning where it's busy. There's a time in the evening when it's busy. But that can be, if that's where your pinch points are, then you can do something about them. So it isn't the full solution, but it's a start. And we have to start somewhere. And if we don't start, you'll never be in the race. So this isn't going to get easier. Valero aren't going to suddenly turn around and go, do you know what? Do you know what? We're causing an issue there. Why don't we take a little bit of that $3.3 billion? Why don't we put that into the town? And it's going to make us no money at all. We're not going to make any profit from it, but it is going to cost us a little bit to do it. Yeah. That's not going to happen. We need to start saying to Valero that, we appreciate you being here. We love the fact that you're here. We love the fact that you employ lots of local people. Would you mind looking at this issue? Because this is really starting to get to be, it can't continue. Yeah, it's not a thing that can continue for a long period of time. It's built and it's built, it's got worse and worse and worse. We know that there is a solution, so let's take it. Yeah. Um, and I'm more than happy to, again, stick your comments and stuff underneath the video about, hey, here's all the issues, because there are other issues. Yes, there are other issues, but they can all be overcome. And they can be overcome if enough of us want to make it happen. And if enough of us want to make it happen, Valero and RWE will also make it happen. Here's what will happen if we do nothing: is it'll get worse and worse and worse. House prices will start to go down. You can see the effect on roads. Yeah, the roads are getting carved up. These are not roads that were built for the amount of traffic that we have now. Yeah, these are roads that were built for most of Pembroke is built on a medieval layout. It was built for horse and carts and walking. It wasn't built for massive 50-ton tankers coming through. So we need to be realistic about this is the town we've got, and this is what it can do. Here's a problem that we have. This is what we'd like you to do about it. Okay. So, as always, stick your comments in below. More than happy to return on this subject for a couple of times because I say it's not the whole issue, it's not the whole problem, but if we don't start, we won't get there. Okay, let's go and have a look at the sports desk. Okay, so again, we're mainly cricket for this season. So let's have a little looky and see what we've got. So we are on alwayssport.co.uk, fantastic place to look at results, fixtures, tables, etc., etc. So obviously, Division One in the cricket, none of our teams are in there, but I just thought I'd share that for people on YouTube just because it's a nice thing to look at. But Carew top, then Cresselli, and then propping up the league. Langham still yet to have a win on that one. So let's have a look at Division Two. So Division Two. So we're going to look at the results for the last couple of weeks, just because I skipped last week. So last week, Pembroke beat Lechlade by 13 runs, which was a nice little one there. And then this week, Pembroke lost to Hook. Oh no, Hook lost to Pembroke. So Pembroke beat Hook. Why did they put it this way? Why can't they just put some with us anyway? So Pembroke beat Hook by 6 wickets, which should, yeah, there we go. Look, second in the table. Us and Narberth, I'd say that's pretty close there. Yeah, 2 points, not much at all. So fixtures for this weekend then. So this will be 24th of May. So, oh, look at that one. So away to Narberth. So that's the big boy. That's a juicy one to look at. So by the end of this weekend, only one of us is still going to be unbeaten one way or another there. So looking forward to that one there. So let's have a look in Division 3. I'm at that bit where I'm almost forgetting who we've got in each one. So Division 3, we've got Lamphy. So Lamphy beat Kilgetty by 3 wickets. And then Hundleton lost to Pembroke Dock. That's a big score by the Dock there, 206 for 4. So Hundleton lost by 72 runs there. And then Stackpole also lost to Fishguard last weekend as well. Weekend before, Lamphy lost to Fishguard and Hundleton lost to Haverfordwest. Stackpole beat Kilgetty there. Okay, so not all bad news. Not all bad news. We'll have a quick look at the table. Where that leaves everyone in the table. Fishguard and the Dock are top-ish, quite close there. Hundleton in fourth, Stackpole in fifth, Lamphy in sixth there. So all three sides kind of mid-table. Could be better sort of a thing. So, fixtures for this weekend: Lamphy travel to Hook, and then we have a localish derby, Hundleton and Stackpole. Now, as I remember, this is from my playing days when Hundleton and Stackpole used to play. It was quite gritty on the pitch, but the afters in the bar were quite something to behold on that one. So yeah, that's always a good fixture. That one, Hundleton against Stackpole this weekend. Okay, Division 4. So I'm at that stage now where I've forgotten who we've got in each division. So here we go. So Pembroke seconds. So last week we beat Haverfordwest by 131 runs. And there, I think that's it. Yeah, Carew already. Yeah. And then the week before, we lost to Saundersfoot on that one. I think that was a top of the table clash. So let's see where we are in the table. Yeah, we're third in the table there. Yeah, so that would be the one defeat. Still quite close at the top, though. Still quite close between us, like I said, Ishmael second, us, Crummock, and Saundersfoot second. So that's quite a tight league as well. And this weekend, Pembroke seconds at home to Llanryan seconds. Llanryan seconds. Bottom-ish, they lost 3 games. So that should be a fairly comfortable win for Pembroke on that one. Again, Pembroke doing some cracking stuff on social media. So if you are looking around on Facebook and what have you, well worth giving Pembroke Cricket Club a bit of a view, because that will be a good. It's good to keep in touch with them. They're doing well on there. So into Division 5 again. Can't remember if we've got anybody in this one. I don't think we do. Do we? Oh, Hundleton seconds. There we go. Hundleton seconds. Right. So Hundleton seconds lost to Herbernston on that one. A week before, Pembroke Dock seconds beat Hundleton seconds. Again, for seconds, 190 runs. That's a good score for a second team. So where does that leave Hundleton in the table? Kind of mid-table, 47 points, fairly comfortable there. I think Neyland are really struggling with their thirds this year. So yeah, that mid-table there is quite close. Top of the table is really close as well on there. And that's that one. So fixtures for this week would be no fixture. I don't know why that is. So whatever it is, it's not there. Okay, so let's. I don't think. Oh yeah, we've got a couple of seconds in Division 6. So Division 6 confuses me on this one. So Lamphey seconds, Pembroke thirds. Okay. Because not everybody plays every week on this. So last week, so 17th of May, Pembroke thirds beat Haverfordwest and Cresselly by 8 wickets, which is good. And then Lamphey seconds beat Kilgetty seconds by 7 wickets as well. The thing with this is if you look in the played column, the Pembroke thirds have only played 2 games on that. So it is a bit of a weird league in the way it's done and what have you, but doing okay there. And have we got any fixtures this weekend? Yes, Pembroke thirds against Whitland thirds. So I don't know what pitch the thirds would use on that one. Lamphey seconds hosting Leckered thirds as well on that. So yeah, all good on that. I think as well, if I'm right, is it Harrison Allen or Dougie Morris maybe? So 27th of May, so that's next week. And those aren't out yet. There we go, 20th of May. Yeah, we aren't involved in that. 21st of May, there, that's what I was looking for. Oh, crikey, that's tonight. That's tonight, Carew against Pembroke tonight in the quarterfinal of the Dougie Morris Cup. So that'll be an interesting one. That's one that we'll review next week as well on that. Okay, there we go. Right. So thank you for your time this week on Towncast Pembroke. If you have anything that you think you want us to talk about, or if you want to come and join me, then do please drop us a line on ilovetowncast@gmail.com. If you've got any comments or anything you'd like us to talk about, pop it on our socials, comment under the video, and we'll do our best to cover it next week. And all I need to say now is thank you for your time and have a good week. Toodle bits for now.